this psalm and walked away hungry. It was Charles Haddon Spurgeon, that great Baptist preacher, that called it the pearl of song. Alexandra MacLaurin, that noted Scottish expositor, said of this song, it has dried many a tears and poured into the soul mold that have produced peace and faith. Then it was also James Montgomery Boyce extolled that it has been memorized by millions. It has been employed by ministers to comfort their parishioners during their severe trials and their suffering illness, even death. It has been the last words that have been uttered by many before leaving this world. Certainly this inspired song is a beautiful masterpiece of praise that testifies of the abundant grace and goodness of God to all of his people. And so it is here, this psalm is the testimony of David, who looks back over his youth and he reflects upon his relationship with God by remembering he was once a shepherd of his father's sheep. David also remembers that not only has he been a shepherd of his father's sheep, but he knows what it feels like to be a weary traveler and find a loving host to give you gracious comfort. And so he uses metaphorically two pictures. The picture of a shepherd and his sheep, and the picture of a host and his guests. You know, the Bible is full of metaphors, similes, allegories, and parables. If you know what a metaphor is, it's the use of a figure of speech to distinguish something different. It's like saying all of life is a stage. Or it's like saying that what you're wearing is bad, even though it's good. You do know what a parable is. It's an earthly expression revealing a heavenly truth. You do know what an allegory is. This story is with symbolism. And you do know, my brothers and sisters, that the Bible is for us basic instruction before leaving this earth. And so when I look at this picture, I can see that by way of outline, verse 1 through 4 displays God as a good shepherd. So then, the relationship is pictured in verse 1a. God is a loving shepherd, and we are his lowly sheep. Verse 1a. That's the relationship pictured. But then in verse 1b through verse 4, the relationship is enjoyed. It is enjoyed because it is seen forth in verse 1b, we shall lack nothing. We shall lack no rest. Verse 2. Because he makes us to lie down in green pastures. We should lack no guidance. Verse 3. Because he leadeth us in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. We shall lack no safety. Verse 4. Because yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Then in verse 5 through 6, we see a metaphorical picture of a gracious host and his lovely guests. We find that the relationship is pictured in verse 5a. God is a loving host. We are his lowly guests. Verse 5a. Verse 5b through 6, the relationship is enjoyed. It is enjoyed in verse 5b because we shall lack no provision. He prepared a table before us in the presence of our enemies. He anointed our head with oil, our cup runneth over. Then we see that we shall lack no goodness, because in verse 6a, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Verse 6b, we shall lack no eternal blessings, for I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Have y'all got time for me to unpack? The text is tailored to teach us the sweet 7 P's. First of all, we see in verse 1, we see God being David's shepherd. Now that's significant because in ancient Israel, the work of a shepherd is the lowest work of all works. The shepherd spends 24 hours a day with his sheep, day and night, in fair weather, bad weather, nurturing, guiding, and protecting them. So then the sheep being helpless to defenseless animal, left to themselves, they like everything. But under the watchful care of the shepherd, I'm talking about the all-sufficient, the inexhaustible, unchanging shepherd, they lack nothing. So he says, I shall not want. And then we see that is the P of possession, because God wants to be our shepherd. He wants to be our everything, our constant protector. But then in verse 2 we see a P of preparation. He said, he maketh me to lie down in green pasture. Sheep are scary animals, easily panic. And when they are scary, they will not even lay down to rest. But look at what David said. He said, the good shepherd makes me, I ought to have some showers right now, to lay down in green pasture, grassy meadow. That speaks to the calmness and the assurance that only God can give true satisfaction. But then he says something else. He says, he leadeth me beside the still water. That says the waters are still. They're not even a flowing stream. They're still because, again, sheep are easily panicked. And that means that they can drink without fear. Somebody catch that before they get home. But then I see that apart from the P of preparation, verse 3a, he says he restored my soul. That speaks to the idea that a sheep has gone astray. And God brings that sheep as a good shepherd back to the flock. But not only does he restore my soul, he says he leadeth me in the path of righteousness. This is the third P. This is progress. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness. You know, left to themselves, sheep are dumb animals and will wander away and harm themselves. But our good shepherd leads us in the path of righteousness. Now, if someone else is leading you, you better not follow. If they are leading you wrong, don't let them lead you. Because the good shepherd wants to lead you in the path of righteousness. When others want to throw you away, when you've lost your way, he'll help you find your way. And then let me tell you why he does it. He says he does it for his name's sake. That's shouting material right there. You know, when you do things that your parents want to disown you, or when you do things that your church don't want you to be affiliated with them, but when you are a sheep of God's shepherd, he says he brings you back from your wrong, from your shameful sin, for his name's sake. You have read 2 Chronicles 7:14, haven't you? If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, if they will seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin and heal their land. He'll do it for his name's sake. Then I see the 4P. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he said, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. That says this is the P of his presence. I think I need to tell you that when he's present, all is well. You may be broke. You may be sick. You may be upset, disappointed, discouraged, tore up from the floor. But with his presence, all is well. Because you've got to learn to say all of that and Jesus. If you're hungry and you don't have food in which to eat, just look at what you have and say all of this and Jesus. I wish I had somebody. I feel like transforming this